cruise director. Remember this guy? The cruise director in Amy Bradley's documentary. So let me tell you why I have a side eye for this guy. So the cruise director, Amy's family reported her missing to the cruise direct staff shortly after her disappearance. Despite their pleas, the cruise ship did not halt its itinerary or fully search passengers before disembarking in Caracal, according to Carousel. I did it again. Carousel. According to people.com, the cruise director Kirk Detweiler has been criticized by Amy's family for what they perceive as a flippant and lacking empathy attitude during and after Amy's disappearance. Detweiler recalled the ship making his scheduled stop in Krakow despite Amy being missing. Detweiler has defended his actions, stating that as a cruise director, he had a responsibility to the rest of the passengers. Amy was missing. What could he do for Amy? He needed to take care of the others. So it was all about being generous. He is getting tons of backlash for his comments in the Amy Bradley is missing. And it made me wonder, well, why was he so flippant? Is he part of this? And again, this is all just my initial research, but was he part of this ring of people that I think was involved? Maybe. He's completely deleted his social media, it says here. I was surprised to see he didn't express more empathy and remorse. Yeah, it is weird that he didn't for how the situation unfolded. So I think the criticism is deserved. What do you guys think? We're going to take a look at this video who goes into more about this Kirk guy. Hey guys, if you could be sure to give this live a thumbs up, helps me out tremendously. And YouTube is rolling out their community section. So if you could share this live to your community section, and if you're on Facebook, if you could share it to your page or to your favorite group. I'm not really sure how Twitch does it. So however you do it over on Twitch, I'm still learning Twitch. So thanks guys. It helps me out a lot.
Through the grapevine, she kind of bragged that she was a good swimmer, and when she saw the lights of curiosity.
Okay, so
from what I heard through the grapevine, she kind of bragged that she was a good swimmer, and when she saw the lights of Curacao, she was going to jump in the water and try to beat the ship ashore. 2,000 people were getting ready to get off the ship in Curacao. I had bouffant hair at the time, so I was probably spritzing in my hair, getting ready to make my appearance on the gangway. We're not going to stop everybody's cruise because there was a missing girl. That's one family's unfortunate incident, but we still had 2,400 people who paid a lot of money. And as cold as that sounds, that's the reality. You know, we still had a couple thousand people to entertain, feed. They were still on vacation. So we went back to, you know, normal operating procedure. Life goes on. Cruises go on.
So me and Archie just finished.
Okay, so that's the guy that we're going to wrap this show up with and take a look at. Do you guys remember seeing this guy? Well, if you saw that Amy Bradley is missing, do you remember seeing this guy? He really made my alarm bells go off, especially for the flippant way that he reacted. It's just amazing.
Watching the Amy is Missing documentary on Netflix, and here's what they didn't tell you. The 1998 disappearance of 23-year-old Amy Bradley from the Royal Caribbean cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas has gripped true crime fans like me for nearly 3 decades. The Netflix series spotlights suspects like Alistair Yellow Douglas, a band member who saw Amy last, but barely mentions Kirk Detweiler, the cruise director. Yet, Kirk's comments sparked outrage, fueling the chilling possibility Amy was targeted for human trafficking from the start, with whispers that he and Yellow were in on a dark scheme to cover it up.
So to me, it sounds like I'm not the only one that's thinking this was a ring of individual, a group effort, if you will, to snatch, steal, and take Amy off the boat.
on a family vacation with her parents, Ron and Eva, and brother, Brad, aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas.
Okay, I'm going to move forward and get it to where they're talking more about this Kirk.
That Amy's still out there. In August 1998, a Canadian tourist named David Carmichael saw a woman with tattoos that were matching Amy's, which were a Tasmanian devil and gecko tattoos, on a Curacao beach with two men, one resembling Yellow Douglas. But the FBI couldn't confirm it. In 1999, U.S. Navy veteran Bill Hefner recalled a woman in a Curacao brothel saying to him, "My name is Amy Bradley, please help me." And that adult worker claimed she left the ship for drugs and was trapped. Hefner reported this in 2002 after seeing Amy's photo, but the brothel had burned down. In 2005, Judy Moorer reported a distressed woman in a Bridgetown, Barbados restroom. Accompanied by four men discussing an illegal deal, Amy asked to see the children. And when Judy got this woman alone in the restroom, the woman whispered that her name was Amy, claiming to be from Virginia. So all those details match up with Amy Bradley. Some speculate the men used the children that Judy overheard the woman talking about to control Amy. So maybe
I believe this is what I lean the most into. I believe that they are holding Amy Bradley's children. That Amy, I've heard that this is a way, and maybe Amber, when you have your person on, I've heard that traffickers will impregnate women and then they will use the children as leverage so that they never leave.
Amy is on this island of Barbados and has kids. That exact year, 2005, of that sighting, a photo of a woman named Jas on a Caribbean adult website was confirmed by the FBI to be Amy, with her features lining up perfectly. And IP spikes from Bridgetown.
So very interesting. The FBI has lined it up that it is that was Amy Bradley. It just amazes me that people are denying that. They think that she jumped off a cruise ship that was docking. It was in a canal. If Amy had jumped off, people would have saw, and also her body would have came up. Even if the sharks would have gotten it, or if it would have went into propellers, there would have been pieces of her, and nothing ever. And there's people coming up to vacationers saying, you think this woman just knew about Amy Bradley and thought, hey, I'm not going to say what my real name is, I'm just going to say I'm Amy Bradley. And it happened. 3 different people, I think, have been approached by a woman. I don't know. Sometimes I think people are crazy for the things they believe. But anyway, we're free thinkers here.
That website mentions unverified claims of crew tied to escort networks, fueling the conspiracy that the crew was all in on it. Kirk Detweiler, a 20-year-old Royal Caribbean veteran, managed 2,400 passengers, but is glossed over in the documentary. His remark that Amy's case was one family's unfortunate incident, but we still had 2,400 people who paid a lot of money, drew backlash.
I've concluded that the conspiracy theories about Amy Bradley are BS. I think she jumped or fell off. And I just think it's grasping at straws. A family that is not facing reality.
Personally, I found
the disgusting way he delivers that speech is disgusting to me. He brings out the Gen Xer in me. He brings out the hand that wants to cock the fist, that wants to go back and go boop right forward. Sorry, but we don't do that these days. We just envision it.
That kind of insensitive and a little callous to make. Ex-users called him despicable, suggesting that he stayed silent for hush money. And his tone screams of a cover-up. Alistair Yellow Douglas danced with Amy, claiming he left her at 1 a.m. Passenger Lori Thompson saw them, however, in an elevator between 5 and 6 a.m. with Douglas alone shortly thereafter. Yellow's inconclusive polygraph and a bag of photos of Caucasian women found by his daughter, Amica, raised suspicions. I mean, why was he obsessed with all these white women when he came back from the cruise? Amica said his behavior changed post-cruise, with her mother citing hurtful comments. And it turns out that Yellow told Amy's brother, Brad, hey man, I'm sorry to hear about your sister, before any public announcement was made, which Brad, of course, found the Amy is Missing documentary.
The fact that this guy is so blatantly cold and callous about the whole disappearance of her, whatever the case may be, this man is completely numb to the whole situation. And I tell you, I will never, ever in my lifetime go on a cruise ran by Royal Caribbean. And if I were Royal Caribbean, I would look into this guy myself. I would do my own internal investigation, because maybe if you look back from the late 80s when he started with the cruise line and the years that subsequently after, I guarantee probably find some more skeletons in his closet, i.e. missing people.
Yeah, and the comments read, his level of being unbothered gave me the creeps. He's probably the ringleader of the whole operation. Someone wrote, everything about him and Yellow scream guilty. When he said wrong place, wrong time, wrong girl, and life goes on, I was fuming. He was sickeningly insensitive. He was in on it. He gave 0 Fs about her being missing. And of course, the cruise staff knows what happened to Amy Bradley. I just know it. Anyway, guys, what is your take?
So that is, people are definitely wondering about the cruise director here. People is even looking at it. Amy Bradley vanished 27 years ago. Here's why her brother will never forgive flippant cruise director. I want to take a look at that article. And then we're going to take a look at that captain that I talked to you about all the things that are going on the sea. And also there is a Reddit that we're going to read about a Royal Caribbean worker and what they think about it. Man, I got to sneeze again. Hold on. Ooh, excuse me. Amy Bradley vanished at sea 27 years ago. Here's why the family isn't going to be able to forgive the flippant cruise director. Amy Bradley's brother, Brad, is speaking out against Royal Caribbean cruise director Kirk Dietweiler. Brad claims Dietweiler had a flippant attitude, and we just saw the flippant attitude, and displayed 0 empathy toward the Bradley family. It's been 27 years since Amy Lynn Bradley vanished without a trace. The pain hasn't dulled, and neither has her anger towards one crew member. His anger towards one crew member, the ship's cruise director. In an exclusive interview with People, Brad doesn't hold back about Dietweiler's appearance in Netflix new 3-part documentary series Amy Bradley is Missing. Brad calls we're just going to call him Kirk because I have a hard time saying his. I don't know if it's Dietweiler or Dietweiler's demeanor flippant, and accuses him of showing 0 empathy both in 1998 and today. In the Netflix docuseries, he says, life goes on, cruises go on. He adds, we're not going to stop everybody's cruise because there's a missing girl. Brad tells People that the cruise director's appearance has made him one of the most hated men in the world right now. The reaction online was kind of the reaction that he had when we were watching him, especially when he has this flippant attitude with 0 empathy. He says, adding his inability to read the room in the situation. I'm not quite sure how to agree to do an interview and not understand you're going to come off like he came off. Amy was 23 when she disappeared in March 1998 from Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Sea. She had been vacationing with her family. Despite searches on board and on the island, Amy was never found. The Netflix series revisits the mystery. Anything else about the cruise director? The attitude that he portrayed on the screen was exactly kind of the attitude that we experienced, that Brad says. I didn't know the guy. I didn't actually remember him until he first popped up on the screen. My wife's sitting next to me and she was like, who's that? And I'm like, I don't know. And then we learned who he is. Brad claims Dietweiler came off as very cold and says this was em- emblematic, emblematic of a larger problem within the cruise line industry, a lack of accountability. It's my opinion that how he portrayed himself, his feelings, and lack of empathy for the passenger is fairly representative of how these industries view the customers. He says the Bradleys have said that in the days after Amy went missing, they were met with resistance and indifference from cruise officials. Security didn't immediately lock down the ship, and passengers weren't fully searched before disembarking. For Brad, Detweiler's comments in the docuseries reopened old wounds. We've all shared this kind of unexplained gut feeling that she's out there, he says, and she may or not be. Obviously, we don't know. The documentary, which details the unsolved case, explores what happened when Amy disappeared without a trace. Moving on, I thought this was interesting. We have My Perspective, Amy Bradley is Missing documentary as a Royal Caribbean employee. So I watched the documentary a few days ago. First of all, I had cold shivers and strange physical reaction while watching it. I did too, especially when the pictures went missing. That's when I had the cold shivers. Is that it? That has never happened while watching a documentary before. After watch the whole thing logically, I do think she most likely, they think she most likely committed, unalived herself. She was heartbroken, and her family to come across as homophobic. They are probably in deep denial about how they treated her for being, maybe this is a Royal Caribbean thing. She was drinking and smoking a lot, which to me sounds like she was a 20-year-old having fun on a ship, which everyone else was doing these things, vacationing. I'm sorry, that's not what they said, which sounds like she was struggling. I've been depressed myself, and people never believed me as I looked happy. So that being said, since I have worked on cruise ships, I have a few queries. The ship's gangway was opened at 7 a.m. That means that the ship would have docked an hour before. It takes an hour to get clearance from port authorities and an hour before. The ship would be sailing very slowly and in shallow waters. It's very likely her body would have been found if she had jumped at 5 a.m. from a scientific point of view. I would need more facts. How likely would it be to find an unalived body that close to shore? Well, they've already said that people who have done the searches said that it is completely unlikely that she would have been found because it was in shallow waters and it was in a canal, and she probably would have been seen, and it wouldn't have been enough to drown because it wasn't open waters. So I know it was the 90s, but now we can make a few different type announcements. One is an announcement that can only reach the passenger areas, but not their staterooms. It's only in emergencies that they make announcements that go into the passenger cabins. So they could have made announcements without waking the passengers up, but allowing the ships to be aware. The Royal Caribbean have made things difficult for themselves because they cleaned the cabin. Lots of people say that she was an adult and therefore it shouldn't have mattered that she had been missing for a short time, but she was a young woman and therefore she was vulnerable. I don't think they should have let the passengers off the ship. I don't think so either. And yeah, she was a young person and she could have, they did search the ship and they couldn't find her. I don't see why holding people up and saying there's a missing person. I mean, yeah. It wouldn't ruin my vacation if someone did that to me. I would have probably helped search for this person, but they have officers on watch 24/7. Why wouldn't anyone see her fall from the ship? I don't think the crew were involved. I can sense vibes from people. Okay. I didn't get a bad vibe from Yellow. Okay. I did get a bad vibe from the witness that said she saw Amy with him. Okay. If you think the crew were involved after they worked 10 to 14 hours every day to make the passengers have a good vacation, maybe tip them if you really think they need the money that much. When would they really have the time and they have all day? 24/7. That's when their time is. And they make good money for their home countries. Most of them are scared to lose their jobs over a simple mistake. I don't believe that. Yes, the cruise director was cold, but you have to understand his job. We have to suppress our emotions and put on a happy face, no matter what doing that. But he wasn't having to suppress his emotions on the docuseries. He could have said something more like, yes, this was horrible. In hindsight, I feel bad about that. But at the time, I was in the mindset that I had a job to do. Anything than what he said. But okay. I even got 2 warnings while at work for not looking happy enough. Also, well, I can maybe believe it about you after, like, you have no, if you didn't get any warning signs from any of these people, then I don't know what to say. Also, these types do seem to climb to the top because of these narcissistic traits. Everyone wants to be a cruise director, and a lot of them get there by throwing their colleagues under the bus. Say it wasn't so that Julie from the Love Boat was narcissistic. The Royal Caribbean do ignore reports of bullying. We had an anonymous hotline to report wrongdoings, and these would get ignored, or the people reporting would get sent home. I saw the whole shop team leave because of management, and then she got a promotion. I then saw the same thing happen in the entertainment team. It's profit over people, so I'm glad it's getting media attention. I do know actually somebody who worked on a cruise ship. Maybe they would talk to me about this. They were a dancer and singer on a cruise ship. I was in a play with them. So the officers on watch definitely can't see people fall overboard at night. Also, an ex-RCL employee, they don't just sit there and stare to make sure people don't jump. Their job is to make sure the ship is on course safely. This person says, I know Amy's case was in the 90s, but out of curiosity, do you know if much has changed as far as technical capabilities around this in more recent years? Like, I could imagine maybe technology could be created that would, for example, set off a sensor. This is a good point. If someone fell overboard, seems like they would have had something like that by then. Does anything like that exist, even if it wouldn't save anyone, since that's quite a long way to fall into waters around a ship that is big enough to presumably sort of have its own current undertow? This person says, now on cruise ships, I believe they have some sensors. They also have video of pretty much the entire ship that would catch somebody going overboard that they can reuse. I agree. I know they are on watch all the time, but I'm not sure if they watched the ship the whole time. Timelines on the narratives have changed. That's another thing that people have a problem with. The Amy Bradley family, seems like their timelines have changed, and people aren't very happy about that. There was a video crew that was on the ship, and they did catch Amy dancing. Thought we'd take a quick look at it. So there's Amy dancing. I think she's dancing with Yellow. I had to turn the music off, you guys. So there's Amy up there. Oops, dancing with Yellow. He wasn't even really that attractive when he was young. No offense, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but he kind of looks the same as he does now that he's old, which is weird because usually that's not the case. So this is so 90s, isn't it? I love it. I love 90s fashion. So this was Amy dancing on the ship with, here Amy is up over here with I think Yellow's not there. You could just throw on a big smock like that and go out in public. I mean, you can still do that, but I love overalls. Still have overalls. Love that dress in the background. I love 90s. I just love 90s fashions. Okay, so there's Amy in yellow over here in the background. Is that Amy in yellow back there? Ooh, they're dancing really close there. If that's Amy in yellow back there. That is Amy in yellow back there. See, there they are. Doing a little dirty dancing. Amy was a dancing fool. Do you guys remember Amy Fisher? We had this party in college, and it was a t-shirt signing party, and I was really into Amy Fisher at the time, and on all the t-shirts, I wrote "Free Amy Fisher" or "Amy Fisher was framed." I don't know why that reminded me of this, but this Amy Bradley case kind of made me think about the Amy Fisher case. So that was Amy dancing. So, and I wanted to wrap up the night with the day with, well, there's two more things I wanted to look at. So Amy Bradley's brother did an interview with Nate, who covered the Lori Vallow case. And I wanted to take a look, wrap it up looking at that. But first, I wanted to show you this. This is an article I found on what really happened to Amy Lynn Bradley, a woman who vanished. And this guy is a captain on a ship, and he talks about the cruise ship industry and the amount of trafficking and drugs that go on these ships.
Strange or suspicious out at sea. I guess you'd have to define strange. I was delivering a sailboat out of Turks and Caicos Islands with two buddies of mine. And the way customs are in the Turks and Caicos, you can keep your boat down there for 6 months, but then you have to move it out of the country or pay the duty on it. So this guy's time was up, and he paid me and my buddies to take the boat to Nassau, check in, turn around, come right back. Well, they had a surveyor that was on board the boat the day before we left. And the surveyor knew this manufacturer of boats really, really well. And that was back in the 80s, when if you turned in a boat and it was a smuggling boat, you got to keep 10% of whatever was on board or whatever the action turned out to be. So this guy, this surveyor, after he did the job, he then promptly called the Coast Guard and said, "This is a drug boat, and here's how I know." And so we got boarded by the Coast Guard, and they stayed on board, drug our ass all the way back to Miami, and kept us there for 3 days. The drug hole that was on board was empty, but it was kind of a unique way they did it. This was a Formosa, and in the rear of the boat was the master cabin, and there was the galley, and then you'd move forward. There were some bunks over on the starboard side, and just opposite on the port side was a day head. One whole wall in the day head was a mirror, floor to ceiling. Had a little toilet paper holder right next to the commode. And come to find out, where that wall was supposed to be a bathtub, but that wasn't there. And behind the toilet paper holder, there was a little tiny pinhole that controlled electric magnets. So when they wanted to remove that wall, which was a mirror, they'd come down, put suction cups on it, stick a paper clip in there, trip the electric magnets, and remove the whole wall. Load it up with bricks of pot or whatever, put the wall back in place, you got your payday. We didn't get anything except hassle. I mean, they tore the boat apart, kept it, and then sold it for, I don't know, 10, 15 cents on the dollar, because, I mean, they went through it with chainsaws. They knew where the hidey hole was, but they just destroyed the boat.
So do you guys get what I am laying down here. Do you see it? Do you think that possibly Amy Bradley was hid behind a fake wall somewhere on the ship? Do you get that? Do you get what I'm laying down?
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out.